Senator Aubrey McCarthy.
Thank you, Cahill, and thank you for being here today. You came on the worst possible day. We are so busy with different committees and meetings and all the rest. So apologies, like Senator Fitzpatrick said, it's not rude that we're coming in late. I'm in business myself. I know some of the guys here. I went for many Retail Excellence Awards. I never won them, so I have a problem with that. But I just want to ask, from being involved in retail, and my family have been involved in retail since 1969. And one of the witnesses at the Enterprise Committee said, a lot of us in business keep the businesses going because of pride, because our families have been involved in it for so many years, so we give it all. And we don't pay ourselves, but we make sure that we keep the business running by paying staff, etc. Insurance is a huge bugbear of mine. At the moment, I think I have 3 different cases this year. And you go out of your way with health and safety audits, and the cost of policing all that is phenomenal. And I sometimes admire the likes of Brendan, is it McDonough? Pat McDonough from Supermax, and I go, wow, he fights. When he feels he's been wrong, he fights. And I like that approach when you feel you've been wronged. However, anything that I try to fight with my insurance company, they're saying, Aubrey, the cost of defending this is going to far exceed doing a settlement. So it's actually easier to settle now. And we're upstairs debating the defamation bill, and they're basically the same thing. I met up with them, and they're saying the cost of defending is too high, so therefore the person is entitled to X, maybe 10 grand or whatever. So I'm just wondering, with businesses that have strong records of no claim, bonus, etc. How come they're not being rewarded? And I have a number of businesses, and I notice every year I know my insurance is going to go up. I don't know how much by, but I'm just wondering, is there not a meaningful sort of a risk-based model that we could look at, maybe an international model that we could emulate that actually could work in Ireland and that works everywhere? Because insurance has gone up and up and up, and we're now nearly working to pay the insurance. So that's one question for the insurance. Then regarding retail excellence, and I was listening to Aoife, I read your details on that, but out of every €100 that is spent in your stores, I'm just wondering how much of it is spent, how much of it goes to you, how much is spent on government tax, regulation, etc. So that's a question for you. And you also were talking about the knock-on effect of increasing the minimum wage. And I've got the most amazing staff. So one of my businesses, I have a restaurant. So you put up the minimum wage, okay? So it's a knock-on all the way. The menu, if you touch the menu again, your customers will say you're taking advantage of them. So how is there a policy that we could use how to deal with the minimum wage, that we can all work together, because we want to see our workers earning a decent wage, but at the same time we can't squeeze it. It can't keep going because there'll be nothing left. So they're my questions.
Yeah, happy to take that. Thank you, Senator. You asked why are businesses with good risk records not being rewarded, and the answer is there's no good reason. There's nothing satisfactory or acceptable about them not being rewarded. I mean, we had a report from the Injuries Resolution Board earlier this year saying that in the last 5 years, or between 2019 and 2023, there's been a 40% reduction in the volume of claims. If nothing else had happened, that alone shows a precipitous fall in risk and claims and incidents, and should have led to reductions. But we didn't. We've also had a reduction in the size of awards that's coming on top of that, thanks to the guidelines of about 30%, and that has stayed constant as well. But you do also then have to look, well, where might it be going if it's not going to policyholders? And insurers are making record profits, and they're making double-digit 13-14% margins for the last, in liabilities, 21, 22, 23, and any notion that they've only just become profitable, that's not correct, and the central bank data bears that out.
Is that a case for the Ombudsman then? Is there an insurance Ombudsman that we could sort of go, hold on a sec, there's a problem here?
It's a case for everybody, because, you know, and nobody objects to a bit of profit. I mean, that's fine, but 2.5 times the international norm. is excessive. So if we're wondering where it's going and why those organisations that have prioritised health and safety and strong records, I think we need look no further, and I think that's why it's so important that you, as our elected representatives, make sure there's sufficient pressure being brought to bear, because they want things too. And if they want it, well, I think there were assurances given that premiums would come down if the reforms came in. I also think, and I will turn to the piece about the vexatious or exaggerated claims just briefly, because I understand that it is more expensive to settle. But if we settle every suspect, dubious or vexatious or fraudulent claim particularly, it's short-term thinking, and no message goes out, and it will only get worse.
But the business can't afford. I can't tell my insurance, you have to do this.
No, this is up to the insurers. The insurers have to take that stand. And it is great when we see some cases in the papers where they have challenged and chased cases, but I do think we need to see more of it. They should be absolutely positively acknowledged when it does happen, because suspect and fraudulent claims needs to become as unacceptable, socially unacceptable, as smoking indoors has become now. Do you know? And that's where we need to get to. And we need insurers to step up on our behalf, because they determine whether a claim is brought or not. There's nothing more frustrating for a business than knowing that it's an unfair claim, but the insurer deciding to settle for financial expediency.
Okay.
And I would remind this House, that the Cabinet, there is a Cabinet subcommittee on insurance. So if you're asked, I mean, you can't get any higher than that. The Taoiseach and other ministers are part of a Cabinet subgroup on insurance. So maybe you should ask them, why are we not seeing reductions in premium?
Okay.
Okay, and yeah, I'm glad you asked the question about the €100, because that is the thing. When we were coming here, you are breaking it down to what is the cost of running your business, you know? And in very simplistic terms, if I take €100 through the till, if I take out my VAT, I'm down to €81.30. If I'm operating on a 40% gross profit margin, which in our industry is a healthy enough profit margin, then I am down to €32.52. And out of that, I take my wages, which are 25% of my turnover after VAT, and then I'm down to €12.20 out of every 100. And out of that, I have to pay rent, rates, insurance, heat, light, marketing, packaging, every other expense. That's all that's left. And if you talk to somebody in marketing, if you want your business to, to future-proof your business, they recommend you spend 10% on marketing. So that would take me down to €2.20 for every other expense within my business. Like, obviously, that's not viable. And the thing within retail, you're saying you're in a restaurant and, if you put up your prices, we have a recommended retail price. It is set by the company. I'm selling to the same person that's selling, in France and selling in Belgium and selling wherever else. So I don't have the opportunity to add anything on the other end. So you're squeezing in the middle. And then you're talking about raising the minimum wage, which has the knock-on effect of raising all of the other wages. And you do just cut the hours. Because you have to. Because, what's going to give within that? I don't have control over the other expenses. That's the only thing. I can't buy less stock because I have to have the turnover to actually generate the business. So that is the thing. You say that the minimum wage is being risen, but people aren't benefiting from it, because if their hours are reduced, then they don't have any more money in their pocket. And Minister Gogarty made a really good point as well. I know I suggested regionalised, and maybe regionalised isn't the answer, but it's more not setting global industries against local businesses. That's how we are being set. And you have to think, it comes back to the same thing. What do the towns look like? Do we want businesses in these towns? How do we support it? So it's I don't have an answer on how you redistribute the wealth that's taken from all these multinationals, but you need to spread the wealth, because as you say, a nurse in Dublin can't afford a house. It's not fair. The country is not fair the way it's set up at the moment. I don't have the answer on how to fix it, but I'm just sitting from one point of view going, if things don't change, I'm out of this business anyways, So I guess that's not an answer.
No, it is, and your sanity would want to be questioned if you want to get into business now.
Exactly. Well, I don't think you'd get into retail now. And the sad thing is that when I spoke to other retailers in Killarney and Killorglin, they said to me, every single one of them said, well, the government doesn't care about small business and the government doesn't care about retail. Not like they were angry, this was just a thing they were used to, and that's the way it is. And maybe it's only because I've come back into the business and I'm fighting for it. They're just exhausted and they're like, I just need to wait till I retire and get out of here. And nobody's taking over those businesses. Yeah. It's just sad.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you want to ask another question, Senator?
Just regarding the minimum wage. Just wondering, is there something we're missing on the minimum wage? How do you, because it's a knock-on, as I said, you have the top here, and we're now putting up the cost, and we're squeezing. So the Enterprise Ireland, the IDA and all that, we focus on the Intels, the Pfizers, and we have huge support. And I've spoken to Seanad about the SMEs, the small retailers, the hairdressers. They're the backbone of the economy. So when Pfizer and Intel or any of these leave Leakslip or Selbridge, you're done. So it's only you guys that'll keep it going. So I'm just wondering, are we missing out something here? Is there something that we could do differently with the minimum wage?
You have to make living more affordable. Like, increasing minimum wage is not making it any more affordable for anybody. It's pushing up the price of everything. So it's not really the minimum wage increase that's going to do anything. So, like, outside of that, where is the wealth? Like, we're the richest poor country, or the poorest rich country, whatever way you want to say it. I'm 45 years of age. I live at home with my mother and my daughter. Like that, and I own my own business. That's tragic. Do you know, what is this country? Like, what are we doing? There's loads of money, and nobody seems to have it. I don't know. I'm
involved in a homeless cafe on Pearse Street, and we feed different people. And normally, it used to be people that were destitute, people that had addictions, etc. And last week, I was in there I always go in and have my dinner there once a week to meet the different people. And there was a guy, and he has a job, and he lives in a tent in Ringsend. He can't afford the accommodation, and he comes in to us for his food. And I go, so even the
and he has a job. Like, look at
yes,
that.
He has a job. Yeah.
We're in a country where even if you're employed, you can't afford to live. You can't afford a house. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Like, in my house where I live, my sister also lives there with her daughter, and my brother also lives there. We're all in our 40s. You know what I mean? And we run businesses. We all have full-time jobs. This is what? What is this?
And you're not in Dublin.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, have you any good news to finish on, just to cheer me up?
I did buy a house and I'm renovating it.
Oh, well, there we go. And you get the vacancy in derelict.
Oh, yeah.
Was it McCarthy Fitzgerald said a sense of humour can be fatal in politics, isn't that right? But anyway, thanks very much.